What on earth are you doing now, Daddy?
Follow manufacturer's instructions and stay safe. In this video, I'm going to be using a vacuum chamber and a pressure pot to stabilise wood for some knife handles that I've got planned to build. One of the first jobs I want to do, now I've got a vacuum chamber and a vacuum pump, is to stabilise some wood for some knife handles, because I've got some lovely knife blades from Lapland that I want to build over the next few months, and I really want to use stabilised wood for those. And I've got a bag of wood blocks here for knife handles, a variety of different ones in here, and these are what I'm going to use. I'm just going to show you some of these. There's a piece of bog oak that my friend Alan Simpson gave me. A little piece there I've got left, and another piece there, and these will stabilise really well. Zebrano also stabilises very well apparently. It's got a nice open grain at the end. Or should I say porous, not open grain, it's tight grained. But I've got two very special pieces of wood. Curly birch. I've got cross-cut curly birch and curly birch. These were sent to me by my friend Osmo in Finland. We did a little exchange of some wood. I sent him some pieces and he sent me some pieces. And these are properly from Finland, and they will be very, very nice on my Laplander blades. I'll leave a link to Osmo's YouTube channel. He's got a channel called The Topicala. The reason they were all in this polythene bag is because they've been in our airing cupboard for a year, drying out, just making sure they're absolutely, well, they're not quite completely dry yet, but they've been in there a year in the heat by our hot water tank. And I put them in the polythene bag when I took them out, just to stop them absorbing moisture from the atmosphere. So they are now ready to be finally dried, and for that we're going to put them in a toaster oven. Anyone who wants to get into stabilising wood, it's a good idea to get a toaster oven. They're only cheap, and they're ideal really. Here I am loading my knife handle blanks into the toaster oven, just spreading them out so that they'll all dry evenly. Approximately 100 degrees C for 8 hours. I dried the blanks in the toaster oven for approximately 8 hours, around about 100 degrees C. The resin I'm going to use to stabilise the wood is this stick fast stabilising resin. It's a heat cured resin and very low viscosity, so it can be absorbed into the wood in a vacuum. And it's got all the instructions with it. It's from the USA, and it's very much the same as all the other stabilising resins. I say all the others, there's not many available in this country. This I got from Turner's Retreat, and I shall leave all the links to Turner's Retreat and this product in the description. Well, I was very grateful to them because they knew I had a project to do, and they shipped this very quickly to me. So very grateful to Turner's Retreat for that. It comes in two parts. You've got the catalyst and the resin, and you have to mix all of this with all of this and shake it thoroughly to dissolve it and mix it up. I think it's got a 3-month shelf life once mixed, and a 3-year shelf life before you mix it. But that's the stuff. As you can see, very low viscosity. I'm going to mix the stabilising resin now. So important, read the instructions really carefully with all of these resins and anything like that. it's essential to read all the instructions. There's the resin, and there's the catalyst, and it says it's very important to shake this thoroughly. I've already given it a good shake, but I'll shake it a bit more as well. Now we're going to add the entire contents into the resin. There we go, and we shall give it a good shake. Bit of mesh in the bottom of the jug to keep the blanks off the bottom, and then I'm loading all the blanks in such a way that they fit, juggling them around a bit. Another bit of mesh on the top, and then a heavy weight to hold them all down to stop them floating. I then pour in the stabilising resin. Just carefully pour it in until it's roughly an inch over the top of the wood. Then we're good to go, ready for the vacuum chamber. Just loading up the vacuum chamber. The vacuum chamber and pump came from Hvacstore. I'll put links in the description, along with a 10% discount code in the description. And then I'm setting up the iPhone just so that you can see what's going on inside the chamber. And then opening the valve and closing the inlet valve and turning on the pump. You can see straight away the wood starts fizzing. It's quite amazing really, it's quite nice to watch. But it fizzes right up, and you've got to keep an eye on it because it can overflow if you're not careful. You might need to just release a little bit of the pressure. It's my wife Jenny saying hi. Just once the bubbles reach a steady stream, I close off the valve to the pump and then turn off the pump. The wood's been under vacuum for over 24 hours now, and the bubbles have practically stopped. There's a few rising where I've just knocked the chamber. The bubbles have stopped rising now, so what we're going to do is gently open this valve so that this can return to atmospheric pressure. You have to do it very, very slowly. You don't want to let the air just rush in. And the other thing is, if you've got a pot positioned inside your pressure pot, make sure it's not directly under the where the air is sucked out or is drawn in this case, because the air rushing in can cause it to splatter everywhere. So we're just going to gently release that. You can fit an angled piece on the end of this inlet if you want to avoid this air shooting downwards. Now lift the lid off, because it's held on by suction before that, or in actual fact it's the atmospheric pressure that's holding it on. But there we are. We're just going to wait for that now to soak in. A few words on using the vacuum pump. Some people leave their vacuum pumps switched on for hours and hours, and I'm not sure how much good that's doing, and certainly probably not doing your pump an awful lot of good. I found that I had the vacuum pump running for probably 15-20 minutes initially, and then I closed off the valves and turned the pump off. And it's important to do it in that order, and it just maintains a vacuum in that vacuum chamber then. And in fact, with that very large chamber that I've got, I think it's 18.5 or 19 litres, it actually maintains a very high vacuum for a very, very long time. So all I did occasionally was just restart the vacuum pump, open the valve, sort of reduce the internal pressure again a bit, and then close the valve and turn the pump off again. And I did that a couple of times through the day, but really I think all I was doing was starting to get the resin to boil. You start to get these large bubbles rising up rather than the fizz from the wood, and I think that's just the resin starting to boil, because it's very powerful, that pump. So I left it just in a vacuum overnight. It had a good 8-10 hours just with the valves closed, with the vacuum I'd created in there, and the needle didn't move at all. There was still a couple of the odd bubble rising the following morning, but that was about it. It was brilliant, absolutely fantastic. The other advantage of the larger vacuum chamber is that it doesn't fizz quite as dramatically at first, because it takes a bit longer for it to reach full vacuum. You don't get that sudden rushing up of the foam from the resin or silicone or whatever it is you're using. It's a bit more gradual and a bit more controllable. Less risk of it all overflowing. I'm going to leave the wood in the stabilising resin for a good 24 hours, and I will keep monitoring the level just to make sure the wood's not exposed to the air, because I want it sucking in resin, not air. And I will finish the job off in a pressure pot, which I know a lot of people don't do, but it is meant to help impregnate the wood. I think really probably what it is doing is there'll be some little micro vacuums created within the wood, and as the resin is sucked in, these vacuums are getting smaller and smaller and exerting less negative pressure, pulling the resin in. So in the middle of the wood you're going to end up with a few voids that have probably still got a bit of vacuum in, so a bit of positive pressure will help push that resin into those places. The resin is thicker than air, which is why they say it takes twice as long for the resin to go in as it does to pump the air out. Well, putting it under pressure will help that process and make sure that all these voids are filled. But that, it certainly does make a difference. Having done some research into it, it can make the difference between the wood sort of floating a bit in the resin and actually sinking. It can make that much difference. Trying to just use a pressure pot to stabilise wood will not work. When you're using a resin that is a chemical cure resin, you're shrinking the bubbles, and then the resin sets around them so they can't expand. With a heat cure resin, you might be shrinking that air down in a pressure pot, but the moment you release the pressure, that's going to re-expand and push the resin out again, because you've got to do a second process where it's not under pressure, where you've got to heat it up. The other thing is that to physically impregnate wood with pressure requires enormous pressure, much higher than we could ever achieve in our workshops. 24 hours later, I put the whole jug with the resin and the blanks into the pressure pot, doing up the pressure pot and pressurising it up to 60 psi. I then leave them in the pressure pot overnight. The following day, just equalising the pressure back down to 0. Then we undo the lid of the pressure pot, and out come the blanks. I can reclaim the resin that I haven't used for later use, so I pour it back into the bottle. And then each of the blanks is wrapped individually in foil. And this is a beautiful blank that Osmo sent me, really beautiful piece of wood. Just wrapping that one up in foil too.
Then it's out to the garage to my toaster oven, putting them all in along with an oven thermometer so I can keep an eye on the temperature, and set it going.
Out of the toaster oven, and I have to say they are feeling heavy, which is good. It means they've increased in their density and absorbed lots of resin. And they sound good too. So let's have a look, see what's in the parcels. This is the one of the pieces of wood that Osmo sent me from Finland, and it looks amazing, absolutely amazing. Looking forward to using that. So I'll look at one of the other pieces. It's another gorgeous piece of curly birch from Finland as well, and they are looking good. Very, very pleased with those. Got lovely density to them. Well, here's the 5 pieces all unwrapped, and you've seen the 2 bits of curly birch, cross cut and just longitudinal cut, and this is bog oak from Northern Ireland. And there's another piece from the same batch of bog oak from Alan Simpson, and they are lovely, incredibly dense, and they will polish up beautifully. And there's the Zebrano. You can get a hint of what it's going to look like when it's all sanded and polished from there, that bit there, but that too is really very solid. I mentioned before, I think, that I've got some blades I want to build, and I've got three blades here, all from Finland, from a blacksmith called Puran Vasi, and these are all handcrafted finished knife blades. They're traditional Sami Laplander blades. They're absolutely beautiful craftsmanship. This is the first, or the biggest one. This is a Luco, which is a large sort of camp knife, I guess, general purpose blade for chopping, and they use it for meat processing and skinning of reindeer and things, but it's a big blade, big heavy blade. And yeah, that's the first one, and I'm thinking that that this might marry up well with that for the handle. There's a bit of curly birch, nice traditional material. Next one down in size is a Puukko knife, another Laplander, Sami Laplander blade, and there's another general purpose blade. Beautiful craftsmanship, absolutely stunning. So that's another one I want to build. I will probably use that piece for that beautiful curly birch again. And like I say, if you want to see an expert in, someone who builds these really well, have a look at Osmo's channel, the thetopicala, because what he does is amazing. And not only does he build the blades, he does traditional sheaths really beautifully. And then the smallest one, little baby version, and I'll probably use this little bit of bog oak. I think that will look really nice. I would urge anyone who's into knife making to take a look at Osmo's channel, the thetopicala, and Sandy's channel, channel-jackloreknives. They're both great craftsmen, perfectionists, and take everything to the next level really. There are loads and loads of videos on YouTube about stabilising wood. This is just my take on it, my version of it, and it's from information that I've gained over lots of different channels and just researching on the internet and taking advice as well off people. I've spent many hours looking into this, and like I say, there's lots of really good videos on YouTube, some quite recent ones as well from some big names. Peter Brown did one recently. The channel that probably influenced me the most and was the first one I really saw stabilising in action was Sandy's channel, channel-jackloreknives. I love watching him work because he is just such a perfectionist. I can really relate to how he does things. He researches everything and does it all to the nth degree. If there's a way of improving something, he'll do it. He'll take that path, no shortcuts. And it was him and his channel that first introduced me to the idea of using a pressure pot to help with stabilising. And it seemed to work, because the level of the resin did go down further when the blanks came out of the pressure pot. The resin had gone down some more, so it must help them absorb it. So that was good. But he's, like I say, he does everything to perfection. So it's really worth checking out Jacklore Knives, and I'll put links to their channels in the description. But as soon as I get the time, I'll do some knife builds for you. Thank you everyone for watching, and thanks to all my subscribers, old and new. Thanks for sticking with me, and I do appreciate all the comments that you leave, and I try and reply to everyone. Don't forget, we've got Makers Central coming up 5th and 6th of May 2018 at the NEC in Birmingham, and that is going to be one awesome event, and there's going to be a lot of big YouTube makers there. So I hope to see some of you there. Come and say hello. Alright, and I'll be back soon with some more videos. I'll put links to Turner's Retreat and to Hvacstore, who I got the vacuum chamber off, and to sprayequipment.co.uk, who I got the pressure chamber off. I'll also put links to Sandy's channel, Jacklore Knives, and to Osmo's channel, The Topicala. But always check the descriptions in my video. There's usually a fair bit of information in them. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back soon with some more videos. In the description there will also be a discount code for Hvacstore, giving you 10% discount at checkout of their vacuum chambers and pumps. This is valid at time of publication of this video.
See you at Makers Central.